Good evening, everyone. You're in the spotlight with Brian Gardner for this Tuesday, January the 8th, 2019. Good to have you all here for our first of two shows this week. Hope your weekend treated you well here. And as we kind of get back into the swing of things here. The holidays now over, and kind of now back into like your normal routines here for the next few months or whatever it is until like spring starts and things start to get hectic again. Here we are again, two shows this week, and we're going to try something different this week. I'm going to flip the script, and some people are probably going to be angry with me about doing this because I didn't really hint at doing this last week, but something I've been thinking about all weekend. And I just want to try it this week and and I have a method to my madness in terms of why I decided to do it the way I did it, the way I'm going to do it this week. And I'll explain that in just a moment. But first, as always, let me remind you all of the ways in which you can interact and contribute to our show. Have your voice heard by emailing us at itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Hashtag itspotlight411 is the hashtag you want to use when tweeting about our show on Twitter or tweeting directly to us. Make sure you use that hashtag if you can. And on Facebook, to find us, search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook, and then make sure that you like our fan page so that you can interact with us and on the show and all that important, interesting, fun stuff. All right, so as I said, we're going to flip the script this week. Now, as you all know, normally we have a structure, unless we only do one show in a week. And that structure is, usually sports. Lately, it's been sports and wrestling on Tuesdays, entertainment on Thursdays. Well, when we've done that, it's left us with a Thursday show. It doesn't really have a lot going for it. So, I've decided, and things being the way they are now, with Mike only being able to really join us on Tuesdays, and there's certain things, as you all know, that have been following us over the 8 years been doing the show, that there's some things that my co-host Mike doesn't like to talk about, and then there's things that he does like to talk about. So, lately what I've been trying to do with these Tuesday shows is trying to get as many topics that he can engage with and talk and give his opinions on as I can into the show. Because that's what makes a good show, is when I have my co-host and we can kind of go back and forth and agree and disagree and all that good stuff. And we haven't been able to do that much in the past year because he hasn't been with us that much until recently. And now we only have him one show a week for the next month or so. So I thought, with the way things are, and again, with the Thursday shows, having trouble kind of filling them up, I thought, why not do what we usually do when we only have one show, which is do a combo show. But instead of doing, we have two shows this week, obviously not one, but why don't we do a combo show tonight and a combo show on Thursday? So sports, entertainment, and wrestling tonight, sports, entertainment, and wrestling on Thursday. Now, somebody's going to say, wait a minute, do you have enough content to do that? Well, here's what we're going to do. We're going to mix it up a little bit. We're going to do a few things tonight, and we're going to do a few things on Thursday. And actually, Thursday will probably be mostly sports, but we'll throw the box office beat at you on Thursday. We'll throw the TV highlights at you on Thursday. So you'll have a little bit, and we probably won't do any wrestling on Thursday unless something pops up, but, we'll see. But as it stands right now, it'll be a mixture for the most part. I'm going to try to get some wrestling on Thursday just to kind of, make sure I'm not, I'm giving you what I promised, which is a mixture on both shows this week. So I basically decided to do this because if I do it this way, I can pick the topics tonight from all of the genres we cover: sports, entertainment, and wrestling that, Mike can contribute to, give his thoughts on. That'll make for a better show. And then on Thursday, I can do the things that he really doesn't usually like to talk about. And that way we split things up. We're able to give more attention to certain things. And I think it makes for a better show, doing it this way. I really do. So we're going to try it this week and see how people respond and see if people think it's the right way to do things, at least for right now, until we start implementing a lot of the major changes and such, and see how people react to it. So like I said, tonight, it's kind of like I've been trying to do. It's just trying to fit as many topics as, my co-host can engage with, because, again, that way we can kind of go back and forth. And then Thursday, I'll read the stuff that he can't. Now, One of the reasons I'm also able to do this is because with the way the NFL is right now, we don't have to worry about any more Thursday games, and there's not too many NFL games anymore. We're in the playoffs now, right? And this is divisional playoff week, one of my favorite weekends, in addition to the wild card playoff weekend. So we can kind of do this and not really hurt anything. Now, look, does it suck that we're basically putting off reacting to all of this weekend's NFL games to Thursday? I guess that's the only one drawback, but at the same time, you're all getting that enough as it is. So if we break it up a little bit, it doesn't sound like we're kind of piling on what everybody else is doing right now. And then we can give our points and that'll be it. So, we'll just try it this week and see how it all works out. So, if you look at the show description tonight, we're going to do a lot of things. And I know there's one topic on this board that on this description that Mike probably wouldn't like to talk about, and that's college football. But I figure we can't wait on that to national championship game. So we probably are better off putting that in tonight. So we did, and I think there's some things that he might be able to be interested in talking about with that anyway. So that's why I threw it on. So on the sports side of things, we're going to talk about the college football championship game. We'll talk about what this means for Alabama going forward, what this means for Clemson going forward, what this means for the entire sport going forward. And then on the wrestling side, we got quite a bit to talk about. Raw and Smackdown highlights from two very eventful editions of both shows. We'll talk about All Elite Wrestling and the big rally they had today. I didn't put this in the show description, but we will talk about Kenny Omega because he kind of falls into the whole AEW wrestling thing. And we're going to talk about the Golden Globes tonight, which is something that we would have done usually on Thursday. We're going to do that tonight because I really want to get his reaction, Mike's reaction to that. And we'll talk about the Golden Globes and react to the winners and what it means for the Oscars, because who cares about the TV race? That wasn't what the interest was. The interest was on the film side of things. And it was a very, very weird Golden Globes, a very weird Golden Globes. We'll talk about that. And so that's what you're going to get tonight. On the entertainment side, some Golden Globes discussion. Wrestling side, Raw and Smackdown, AEW Wrestling, Will Kenny Omega in there too. And on the sports side of things, the College Football National Championship. And then the rest of it we'll do on Thursday. Box office beat, TV highlights. And then the rest of it will probably be mostly sports. I might throw a wrestling topic and anything big happens in the next couple of days. We'll talk about it. Obviously, on the sports headlines we have to cover from NBA, MLB, or any of the big things we'll do on Thursday. But primarily the sports stuff will be football on Thursday. We'll talk about last weekend's NFL playoff games. Obviously, it'll be later in the week, and by that point, all kind of moved on. But, we'll do it. Make our picks for this weekend. Talk about this weekend's big games. Big games, and all going to be interesting games, I think. So it should be a fun weekend of football this weekend for sure. So we'll talk about all that on Thursday. Thursday is also a very, very big show because, big deadline, I should say, because that is when the ballots are due. The nomination ballots are due for this year's Film Awards. So make sure you get those in by 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time this Thursday. Also, we will let you know at the beginning of the show, once I declare that the deadline has passed, we'll also let you know, for those of you that have not been able to participate so far, how you can participate in the live voted awards. These are the awards that will be voted on live during the Film Awards this February. We'll let you all know how you can help to decide the nominees for the live voted awards. We'll announce those nominees during the broadcast in February. So we'll let you all know how that all works and how you can participate in that, which is open to anybody. About that on Thursday as well. So important deadlines, important information will be coming at you on Thursday. And then the In the Spotlight Film Award nominations will be coming out next Thursday. Okay, next Thursday, those nominations will be released. So we'll announce those on next Thursday's show. And that's, of course, going to be a very, very, very big show, which means that next Tuesday will be another combo edition of our show, because the next Thursday will be completely devoted to announcing the nominations. So so this week will be combo shows, and then next week will be a combo show again as well on Tuesday, because we have to have enough time for the nominations. So next week should be a very big week for the show. All right, so if that being said, as I said, we have, so again, even split in terms of the things that we have to do this week, and we'll see how this works out. Like I said, the only big drawback is that we're going to wait till Thursday on the NFL stuff, but that's, again, you're getting that from all angles right now, so it'll give you a little bit of a break before you have to hear it again on Thursday. So, all right, so let's get down to things right now, and you know what, we'll start off with a topic that, because until Mike joins us, we'll start off with a topic that I know if he has anything to say, it won't be much. And that is last night's college football championship game, which, look, there were people that went into this game with the idea that Clemson could win the game. Okay? You'd have to be dumb not to think that Clemson could win the game, especially after what they did in Notre Dame last week. And again, there were some people that thought Notre Dame didn't belong there. All right? I didn't feel that way. I thought they did, but there's some people that felt like they didn't. Regardless, Clemson looked like a completely different team in that game than what we've seen this year. Quite frankly, they look like a different team since the midway point of the season. They kind of turned it on and never looked back, which can happen sometimes. Things fall into place and it happens. Now, that game, the thing that I think, the first thing that when I look back at last night's game, the first thing that comes to mind for me is the fact that we probably should have seen a bad performance by Alabama coming. And that's because of the way that they played against Oklahoma. Now, Alabama was very dominant in the regular season. And, when you look back at, Nick Saban's Alabama teams, again, there's a reason why in the playoff era, last night was the first time an undefeated team won the national championship. Because usually you've seen teams go in with one loss. Both these teams went in with no losses. Both these teams were unbeaten. And if you look back at the regular season, Alabama was more dominant than Clemson. Obviously, Clemson had the difficult first half of the season. And then they kind of turned it on. Meanwhile, Alabama, for the most part, was dominant against quality competition throughout the season. The first time that you saw some kinks in the armor was against Oklahoma. And obviously they took care of business there. But, when you look back at that game, I think everybody's like, well, this just shows how strong Alabama is. It really, in hindsight, it really didn't, did it? It gave us it showed red flags. That against an offense that maybe speeds things up, that kind of makes Alabama uncomfortable on defense, that has them playing on their heels. It can cause you can find a way to win a bit against them. You can find a way to score on them. And obviously Alabama's gone back and forth with the quarterback situation, and so it's really just about handling Alabama's defense. If you can score on them, you could probably win. And then it's just about really stopping the running attack of Alabama, because a lot of their game is on offense, about grinding it out and possession, and that's really the blueprint that you saw last night displayed in that national championship, and that you saw a little bit with Oklahoma against them, which is why Oklahoma, played for about maybe 50% of the game well against Alabama. So when I was watching that game last night and I saw Clemson come out and do what they did and come out strong, and then Alabama was still relatively in it at the half, but then they obviously blew it open in the third quarter, and that was the end of it. But when I saw Clemson do what they did early, I said, "Wow, you know what? Now that I'm watching this and seeing this unfold." And I saw in my gut, I knew that Clemson was going to win once they came out the way they did against Alabama, because Alabama looked completely rattled. They looked flustered. You could just see the body language. You haven't seen Alabama look like that, because the game was being taken to them. Yes, Clemson beat Alabama a few years ago, but that was a close, competitive, back and forth game. And it wasn't like you rattled Alabama early and had them on their heels. No, last night you had them on their heels. It was a complete flustering of Alabama in that game last night. And you've never seen that in the Nick Saban era. Never. Against anybody. Clemson took the game to them. They did not fear them. And that's something that Alabama's not used to. They didn't know how to react. They didn't know how to adjust. They were playing from, even though the score wasn't really much of a detriment, it wasn't hugely out of their favor until the third quarter. They were facing an uphill battle. They were playing from further behind than the scoreboard indicated early. They just didn't know how to wrap their mind around the fact that the game was not in their control. They always are used to dictating the tone and dictating the tempo and dictating really where the direction the game's going to go. Clemson took that away right out of the gate. And once that happened, that was really it. And the red flag. When I saw that, I started thinking back to the game against Oklahoma a week ago, and I started looking at it and going, you know what? The warning signs were starting. They were there. They were there early against Oklahoma. Just that Alabama found a way to overcome it, and Oklahoma's not as good as Clemson is. I know I had said earlier in the season I didn't think Clemson was that good. Well, again, they came on strong. They really did. Once they clicked, and once Trevor Lawrence clicked, and he's a true freshman. And then you got Ethan, the running back, doing what he was doing. Everything kind of fell into place, and they just carried that momentum. And you saw what they did against Notre Dame. You saw what they did against Notre Dame. And you saw what they did last night. It was a complete and utter dissection of Alabama. And it was a true shocker. Was it a shock that Clemson won? No. It was a shock that Clemson controlled that game from start to finish and beat them the way that they did. That was the shock. And do you believe in whether this is a passing of the torch? I don't know if it is or it isn't. I do think it shows that there's only one team in the country that can play up to Alabama's level with them, and that's Clemson. It kind of reminds you of the Giants and the Patriots, where the Giants seem to be the only kryptonite to the Patriots. Well, the Eagles beat them last year, but realistically, it was the Giants for the longest time that was the kryptonite to the Patriots in the Super Bowl. And look, Clemson's not going anywhere. Trevor Lawrence is a true freshman. They got a lot of young guys. Between Alabama and them, they're going to get all the top recruiting classes. These two teams are going to be there, whether you like it or not. Is it good for the game? Not really, but you can't stop them. I mean, it's kind of like what happens in women's basketball, college basketball, or what's happening in the NBA right now. That's the same team. For the longest time, it was the same teams getting to the championships. Well, everybody else has to come to play. Everybody else has to find a way to beat these teams and start to equal out the playing field. Nobody's going to hand it to them. So you're going to see Clemson here again. This is not the end for Alabama. It's a kind of a shell shock for them, yeah. And they're going to want revenge. They're going to go in the next year with a chip on their shoulder. And is this the start of a dynasty for Clemson? It already kind of is. They already won 2 championships. They've been to how many championship games? It kind of is a dynasty. It's a dynasty for Alabama. And we'll see how long they can keep this going. Both teams. But it was an incredible performance by Clemson. And, again, I don't think it changes anything for Alabama. I just think for Clemson, it just changed it for them. It just gives them the confidence as a program now that they can do this. And it wasn't a fluke a couple years ago. They are up there with the Alabama Crimson Tide. And that's going to be something, again, both these teams are going to be duking it out for years to come. And a lot could be said about Dabo Swinney and how, he's, for many people, he's the more rootable coach. Clemson's the more rootable program because, Nick Saban's a jerk to his assistant coaches. He treats his, he runs the kids, the athletes ragged and all this other stuff. Look, a lot can be said about all those things. I'm not going to get into all that. Everybody runs their program differently. But the standard of excellence is there for both programs. And it's going to be there for both programs. So, you give congratulations to Clemson. You give Alabama congratulations for another great season. College football suffered big time this year. There wasn't as much drama down the stretch as there should have been. The playoffs, the bowl games were all terrible for the most part. They all were mostly blowouts. If they weren't blowouts, they were only close games because they were ugly games. So I would say college football as a whole had a rough go of it. And, whether you think that they have to look at these playoff selections differently, these bowl games differently, I don't know. As I said, I think the first thing they can do is open up the playoffs to 8 teams and then go from there. And I think the other thing they can do is have the playoff games, have all the bowl games build up to the playoff games. Having playoff bowl games after the semifinals was stupid, but I already talked about that. So, to put a wrap on the season, you're in a college football landscape now that has 2 dynasties, 2 upper tier teams, and everybody else. And I don't think that's changing anytime soon. I just don't. So, and for college football's sake, I hope that, they get a better, season, a better playoff race, and a better bowl and playoff season next year, because this was terrible. That's really 2 years in a row that it was. So that's a trouble spot, in my opinion. Trouble spot. Mike has appeared on the board. Mike, you're in the spotlight.
I come in late every single time expecting not to hear this stuff, but here I am.
No, we had a championship
suffering through this game, which you should have spent approximately 2 minutes on. It was a blowout. Clemson won. So what?
Well, you should be happy, Mike. I moved the NFL stuff to Thursday for you, so it only was the college football stuff. So,
well, small wonders, I guess.
I was very understanding. I was very understanding. And as I said in the open, that's going to be the only sports stuff that we cover tonight, because everything else we moved to Thursday. Because as I mentioned, I'm trying something different this week. I'm doing 2 combo shows, so I'm kind of mixing up the sports, entertainment, and wrestling topics. So I tried to fit as many topics into tonight that you would be interested in, outside, of course, the college football thing, that I could fit into tonight, so that way I leave the stuff that you could care less about for Thursday. I thought about this. My wheels were turning over the last 24 hours. So
there was thought. Oh my.
There's thought.
That's different from normal.
I figure we have a lot of wrestling stuff to get to, especially with what happened today.
Oh my.
Yes, some interesting stuff happened today, and we're gonna go into that right now. We'll leave the Golden Globe stuff for the end, because I have to save my voice for that. But anyway. Yeah. Anyway, so again, that's college football. We did it. That's the only sports stuff. We're gonna move in now to the wrestling stuff, and let's do this all elite wrestling thing first, because I think you could make a case that there's 2 interesting ways to look at this. There's who was there and who wasn't there.
Well, let's start with who was there.
Right.
Well, to nobody's surprise, Cody Rhodes, the Young Bucks, and Adam Hangman Page were there. Everybody knew they'd be involved. Oh, and Brandy Rhodes. Everybody knew they'd be involved. They've been involved since the beginning.
Right.
The surprising SoCal Uncensored. So Kazarian, Christopher Daniels, and Scorpio Sky were there, but everybody figured they were going to be in it since the beginning too, since they also didn't re-sign with anybody. So yeah, that wasn't surprising either. But the surprising thing was that there were some major names popping up. Billy Gunn was signed this week as an agent. That was a pretty big deal. The former Neville, current Pac, current Dragon Gate Dream Gate champion. Excuse me. He's got their heavyweight title. I guess that's the best way of putting it. Pac has got the heavyweight title, so he's now with All Elite Wrestling. So that's a huge name that they got. And there were rumors that he was going to show up at All In, but He wanted to make his debut with Dragon Gate. So he was going to be at All In. Well, he had the offer to be at All In. And surprisingly enough, the eternally young, eternally chameleon, ever evolving Chris Jericho decided
Mm.
to tie his bandwagon with all elite wrestling. So
Yeah.
we've got they made some names. Excuse me, they made some splashes here. They got a couple of really big. See, getting Pac and Jericho to sign on was huge. Because it immediately brings interest to the brand. They also announced that Double or Nothing is going to be in May. Details for that are yet as unrevealed, although you think that since it was on Fight TV, since All In was on Fight TV,
Hmm.
they'll probably do some Fight TV stuff, and they'll probably be on pay-per-view as well. It's not hard to do or kind of hard to assume.
Right.
But I'm assuming the two names that you're thinking of that weren't there.
Hmm.
Well, the first one that might be less important is Goldberg. Goldberg wasn't there.
Right.
Well, there the big rumors that Goldberg would be involved in this, but Goldberg wasn't there. Makes you wonder: is he really involved in this? Is he not? Who knows? But the other name was Kenny Omega. Is that the
Hmm.
one you're fishing for?
Yes, that
Kenny
is the one I was
Omega.
just going for.
Well, I mean, Kenny can't do anything allegedly until the end of this month anyway.
Which was my thinking as to why he might not be there
Yes,
originally.
but if he can't be there at the end of the month, that means he probably won't be in the Royal Rumble either, unless WWE buys out the rest of his contract, which could happen.
Didn't they do that with AJ?
I think so.
Because there was the same thing with. I remember we had the same situation with AJ. Like, oh, he couldn't do anything until the end of the month, and he showed up at the Rumble.
So there's a possibility they could do something different. So
Hmm.
Kenny Omega and of course Dave, my nose is in the Young Bucks buttholes. I have to alternate the days for which butthole Meltzer was saying
Mm.
that Kenny's probably going to sign with All Elite Wrestling, and that wouldn't be the most surprising thing in the world. In fact, it's for All Elite Wrestling, it's the best result they could have hoped for if you think about it, because they got Kenny. He's in on the ground level, But on the other hand, wouldn't it be it'd be more interesting for many other fans, and there's two different point of views here. And I'm assuming you're going to have a similar opinion. Yes, it'd be interesting if Kenny stays and with all of his friends and they do the All Elite Wrestling thing, and he's the figurehead of the first true competitor to WWE since since I guess TNA. I guess TNA would TNA count? I guess I don't know. They're hanging on. So they would say, "Oh, it's the first true competitor because Ring of Honor is not going to be is probably going to take a downfall because of All Elite Wrestling and whatever." On the other hand, though, if Kenny goes to WWE, I feel like for me that's the more interesting thing, because now you forgot Kenny Omega in a totally different environment. Do maybe feuding with guys you would have never seen him feud with before, or if guys in a different context, like the one match Kenny Omega versus Seth Rollins, Kenny Omega versus Brock Lesnar, Kenny Omega and AJ Styles wrestling in a bigger stage, or Kenny Omega and Finn Balor wrestling one more time, or even Kenny Omega and I don't know, Triple H, Kenny Omega and Andrade Almas, Rey Mysterio, Kevin Owens. You might even get Kenny Omega versus I don't know, EC3,
You say
Drew
Randy
McIntyre.
Randy Orton?
Oh, Randy, watch your bags, Orton.
Hmm.
I would thinking about that match. That match might actually be really fun. that match would be amazing. See, Kenny Omega is very gifted. He does a lot of extra things in the ring, but let's face it, nobody in pro wrestling is as naturally gifted as Randy Orton is. And if Randy Orton's motivated, him and Kenny Omega could have a really fantastic match. Or Kenny and Braun Strowman. That could be fun. And when he returns, maybe Kenny Omega versus Roman Reigns.
Mm.
That would be a fantastic match as well. So I feel like, for me, this is my opinion, right or wrong. I feel like Kenny Omega's might be more limited by staying in All Elite.
Mm-hmm.
Even though there's a chance that the big theory among the Elite fans and Dave Meltzer. Actually, I should have just stayed. If I said Dave Meltzer, I should have just stayed with my original opinion. So the Elite fans is that once the G1 Super Show at WrestleMania weekend is over, New Japan might kind of bolt to All Elite Wrestling because they be able to work with guys they didn't want to lose in the first place, like Omega. Like New Japan does not want to lose Omega. They didn't really want to lose the Bucks either. So they'd be able to work with All Elite Wrestling or Jericho. Jericho's the other one that they really wanted to keep as a challenger for Tanahashi. Basically, they wanted Jericho to put over Tanahashi. Because everybody's got to put over Tanahashi now. Yay. God, we're not going to talk about Wrestle Kingdom, are we?
No.
Thank God. Thank God. In some cases, one step forward. In other cases, 15 million steps back. God damn. Wrestle Kingdom. What a predictable piece of shit. Like, all right, real quick. I'm super happy. Like, they went with Taiji Ishimori, and I'm really happy they went with Jay White. Jay White beating Okada was a smart move. But God, we are sacrificing Jay White at the altar of Hiroshi Tanahashi already. God, why? But yeah, Wrestle Kingdom was predictable as hell, and even though people like the Tanahashi Omega match, it's like I texted you immediately after, and I told you this after. It's like, and I don't mean to kind of shit on Wrestle Kingdom, and we're probably going to get some shit for this, but whatever. Your opinion's yours, and my opinion is mine. I felt like I knew it was going to happen at Wrestle Kingdom, and because of this, among other reasons, Omega was gone. Omega was gone. He didn't even want to do what Kushida did, which was do the whole press conference thing and have a goodbye match. He didn't want to do that because he knew it would happen. He didn't want to be under Tanahashi. The moment they went with Tanahashi, it was like, all right, well, here we are. We're back in 2000 and whatever. Didn't we get past this? Didn't we establish Okada? So why are we back with Tanahashi now? Even Cena. Like, it makes more sense with Cena because Cena's like a bigger name now. I don't know. But Wrestle Kingdom was predictable as shit. Does that make it less better than WWE? No. That's people's opinion in the end. But
yeah.
That's people's opinion. But what was I saying? Oh yeah, All Elite Wrestling. Yeah. Kenny Omega wasn't there. He might sign with them, but I think it kind of limits what he can do. We've seen him wrestle the New Japan names. We've seen him wrestle pretty much everybody who'd be with All Elite Wrestling. There's nothing new. There's nothing kind of more exciting than what we've seen. We've seen him wrestle Jericho and Cody. We've seen him wrestle Paige, and I guess the most novel matchup would be Pac.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
The most novel matchup would be Pac. And after you get through the Pac match, well, what the fuck? So for Kenny, for me as a wrestling fan, there's more interesting things for him to do in WWE. And once he's established there as a bigger star, when his contract's up, if he wants to kind of go the long way around to all elite wrestling, it would raise their profile more.
Yeah.
But
That's actually what I was thinking. I wonder if he does decide to go to WWE. I think the way that he'll justify it to his friends and to the fans is, well, right now there's no challenges for me there. A lot of the matchups that I could have are in WWE, right? And he goes there, maybe he signs like what, a 2-3 year deal. And he goes there and he has these matchups. He gets a chance to kind of raise his brand a little bit. And then he, goes back. And then after that contract's done, he goes to All Elite. Because then he figures he could help them at more doing that because he raises his brand. His there's a whole host of audience there that doesn't know who he is. Not everybody follows the other wrestling organization. You know what I mean? Not everybody does that. It's like when AJ showed up. Yeah, there were a lot of fans that knew who AJ Styles was, but there are a lot of fans that didn't. And now they do. If AJ had left for All Elite now, it would matter more now than if it was 2-3 years ago. Because AJ Styles is over with like the casual fans in WWE now. So that would make a big difference. Kenny Omega is not. Kenny Omega, the audience that Kenny Omega is going to bring to All Elite is the same audience that all these guys are going to bring. It's the same audience. He ain't bringing anything new right now. He could add more if he goes to WWE. I don't know if he is or isn't. I think people are reading between the lines and thinking he's going to go there because of his friends and all these other things. But
maybe something they hinted at on the Elite YouTube show that Kenny
right.
had the ticking clock as well. It's just he never answered it.
And the way that WWE acted tonight with not letting people in All Elite T-shirts. Now I'm starting to wonder if maybe part of that what the bitterness was because he rejected them or something like that. You know what I mean? Like it seemed like they've never worried about they're being awful petty about it. And I don't know if it's because of Jericho. I don't know what it is. But
I think it's definitely because of Jericho.
And look, was I surprised by Jericho? No, because I all the red flags were there. I knew Jericho was going to do something like that because he's there's something about Jericho in the last 6 months or so that he's been very off-putting when it comes to WWE. It's almost like I'm trying to make a statement. Like every methodical move that he made was like, I'm trying to distance myself, he likes to do different things. Even when he came back to WWE, every time he came back, there had to be something different. There had to be a challenge, right? I think he got bored. I think that's why he did New Japan. I think that's why he's doing all these things. I think he wants to wrestle, but he's bored. He doesn't see anything else there to do for himself right now. So go do something else. So I understand it from his perspective. I do. I mean, they sold him signing his contract and everything. They made a big thing out of it. But here's the other thing too. Like you said, there's nobody for Omega to face in All Elite other than Pac that he hasn't dealt with already, right? They don't have a big talent list right now. Now look, I think this is going to work out because they have the right people involved, and I think they really did their research, and I think they're going to do fine, right? But this is not very viable right now. Let's be honest here. They're starting from scratch. Yes, you're probably right. They're going to be on pay-per-view and everything, but come on, they don't have a TV deal. They're going to be doing minimal shows. They're just going to do what they can do and just try to build this thing. It's going to take a long time to build it. Anybody that thinks they're going to be instant competition for WWE, there's people acting like all these wrestlers are going to jump ship from WWE right now. No, they're not. They're going to wait and see how this thing builds. Yeah. They're going to wait a year and you figure 12 to 18 months to see where it's at.
Let's see how many shows that the Young Bucks and Cody can do that get off the ground and are successful. Like Double or Nothing is going to be a success. Mm-hmm. Probably the next pay-per-view will probably be a success, but where are you a year from now? Now, I do think there will be a couple of WWE names that kind of make the transition. Mm-hmm. Like literally, I think Zack Ryder might be a very good name to throw in that, or some of the real low card guys who do have some internet value might kind of head out.
Right.
But if you're talking about like mid card to major WWE names, no, they're not going in. Like Ty Dillinger's already said, I'm staying with WWE. Why? Because I got bills to pay.
And
And
see that's the thing. I think that you what you said is a good point. Somebody like Zack Ryder, who's been with WWE for a very long time, and he obviously had a lot of merch sales and everything. If he was careful with his money, he can afford to take a risk like that. But somebody like Ty Dillinger, the guys that haven't been around as long, they, like you said, they have bills to pay. They're not just going to jump ship to something that's just starting to form. Because what happens if you do that and it goes belly up and you burn your bridge?
and by the way, Ty Dillinger is also on SmackDown with his fiance Peyton Royce. So
Also a good point.
why would he leave?
Right. And again, I think you're right that in terms of the kind of talent that's going to want to jump ship. And look, I think that Cody's probably put the bug in a few guys' ear already, where it's like, hey, you know what? I understand if you don't want to do it right now, but keep an eye on us. We're going to get big. We're going to do this. You're going to do that. When you're ready, you can jump ship, right? It's probably what he did. Like I said, 12 to 18 months. In 12 to 18 months, if this thing gets bigger and bigger and bigger, if it continues to grow, then you'll start to see other talents go, maybe I should do this. This is viable. This is something that's working. They're not just going to do that based on the fact that everybody's hyped for this right now, because the novelty can wear off pretty quick. It really can. It's you've seen that before with a lot of different things. So it's wait and see kind of approach. And we'll see where it's at. I mean, look, and I mean, like WWE was petty about it tonight, but they've been petty about things like that before.
God, they've been petty about everything. If you have New
So,
Japan merch, Bullet Club merch, WCW merch, God, they've been petty
and
about everything.
and
That's
let's
how WWE operates.
and let's not act like they're all elite signing everybody that WWE wants, because WWE's getting, what's his name, Kushida. Is that what his name
Yeah,
is? They
Kushida
got
wants.
him.
Yeah, I think Kushida's made no bones, no quarrel about it. He went the right way. He's going to have his goodbye match. He's going to put over Hiroshi Tanahashi like a good little New Japan soldier, and then he's going to NXT because he wants to go to NXT. And everyone's like, "Oh, they'll waste him on 205 Live." It's like, motherfucker, do you see what 205 Live is doing?
Mm-hmm.
205 Live is consistently one of the best wrestling shows on the planet every week.
And they're starting to open things up where guys can go on to other brands like Ali's doing. They're starting to open it up a little bit now. So
Exactly. If the Mustafa once the Mustafa Ali, if the Mustafa Ali thing, and I'm saying thing, but if the Mustafa Ali push really kind of really translates to a big moment or big sustained push for Ali, God, the 205 that almost legitimizes 205 Live in another way.
mm-hmm.
So these guys can make that run,
Mm-hmm.
and Ali's a very good choice for it.
Right. And I think that I know there was some talk a while back about Nakamura and whether he was going to stay or just jump, and clearly he's going to stay, and they've committed to him fully now, and he's learning more. He's getting better with English now, and I don't think he's going anywhere. I think they're really enjoying focusing on him and this feud with Rusev. Um, they're they're kind of giving him a little bit more freedom with what he's doing. You can tell he's really happy with what he's doing.
Yeah.
So
and,
I don't think he's going anywhere.
And yeah, no, I wouldn't be surprised if Shinsuke Nakamura takes the brand's top title.
Yeah.
And in the next year.
Yeah, I agree.
Look. Arguably, he should have had it this year. I said he should have taken the title at Mania. He should have taken the title at any of his future rematches with AJ. That's still a frustrating point of contention for me.
Mm-hmm.
But Shinsuke Nakamura has grown more comfortable in this role. This Knock America thing was great. It was the next of an evolution of Shinsuke Nakamura, Dong Attacker.
By the way, I don't know if you saw the SmackDown highlights, but Daniel Bryan alluded to that with AJ.
No, I did not.
Something I didn't see it all of SmackDown. I just read about it, but I heard AJ alluded to it with a hot dog or something. No, not AJ. I mean Daniel Bryan did like a long promo at the beginning of the show involving a hot dog or something, and he referenced AJ getting kicked in the nuts and everything. I guess,
which is funny because it wasn't on like on any of the shows, but AJ finally alluded to it in like an interview, I think.
Yeah,
He's
he
like, "Well,
did.
why don't you wear a cup?" It's like because it leaves lines, and I feel like if we get hit with a cup, it just hurts worse. So he takes his risk, and with Nakamura aiming for it in every single match,
Yeah.
you would think though.
By the way, since we're on the subject of you know Mustafa Ali and some of these great guy wrestlers that WWE has, there was a tag match tonight, and I'm just going to highlight this right now because we're talking about we're doing all week, but we're also going to do Raw and Smackdown highlights. There was a tag match tonight between Samoa Joe and Andrade Cien Almas and Rey Mysterio and Mustafa Ali. That's getting match of the year candidacy already. Apparently, Rey and Andrade did a what do you call it?
Like a Canadian destroyer
Yeah,
spot.
and I saw the GIF. It was amazing, and everybody's like, "Why aren't we getting the Rey Andrade feud?" You might still get that.
Yeah,
Um,
don't put that car before the horse. You definitely might see that feud kind of culminate at WrestleMania, maybe.
it'd be worth it.
Yeah, if you give Ray and Andrade 10 minutes, they will kill it.
Um,
Because they during those segments they revealed they have very good chemistry.
oh yeah, it was actually they had two good tag matches. They had that match and they had the Usos and the Bar that was a good match until
Yeah.
they did the Mandy Rose stuff. But
Well, that was story. That was Angle. But the
mm,
Usos and the Bar. Look, we've seen that tag match a lot. I'm just happy the Bar won. But I'm scared because now we've got the Bar versus Shane and Miz for the tag titles.
pretty obvious where that's going.
Either the Bar will retain because Shane and Miz just can't get along and it kind of leads into the Shane Miz feud, or they give Shane and Miz kind of a bullshit tag title run.
I mean, I thought they killed the Shane McMahon thing, but I still believe. I still don't believe it. I still think they're going to do it.
Oh, I think they're going to do it too.
I think they're going to do it too. It's because Shane's been a little too obvious to me. So
Well, it also think that you want a McMahon at Wrestling at Mania and Triple H is injured. So, well, as of
well,
this time,
we'll see.
let's bet again. I'm going to
Yeah,
have to repeat that last part. As of
of this
this
time,
time,
he's still got a couple months. So
yeah.
I think.
But
I think.
yeah, go ahead.
Needless to say, I think that WWE is going to be very happy that WrestleMania is a little later this year.
Yep.
That's all I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, there might be
Um,
some guys coming back, but honestly though, Braun's still not cleared though.
yeah, yeah.
And I mean, he's got a couple weeks still, but things that make you go, hmm.
Yeah. I know what you're saying. I hear you. Ross, look, SmackDown, both shows I thought were pretty good this week. I thought there was, obviously, we're now in that mode now of WrestleMania, so I think things are going to matter now. We know that. We had the triple threat tonight, which Becky Lynch won. She submitted Carmella, and so it's Becky Lynch and Asuka. They confronted each other at the end of the night, which the crowd was all over. So I think it's pretty obvious now what we're going to get. Charlotte's going to cost Becky the match. And
More
either
than likely.
we're either going to get that triple threat, or they're just going to bypass Charlotte and Ronda and save that match for some other time. I think that's pretty obvious now. Now that Sasha is getting Ronda at Royal Rumble, I think that's we now know, and obviously Ronda's going to win that. But I think we can get, it's a given. And look, there was a part of me that thought maybe they'd give the match to Carmella, only so that Asuka gets a win. But at the same time, there's nothing wrong with Asuka facing Becky. So
I still think Asuka wins because I think
oh
there's
yeah,
more money. There's
I think
way
she
more
does.
money. There's way more money in Becky winning the Rumble.
I just think, well, here's what I think is going to happen. Okay, first of all, she's not going to win clean, which I think sucks.
No,
That's the downside of it. I think if it's going to be a triple threat, I think they're going to run Becky and Charlotte both winning the Rumble. I think that's what they're going to. I think that's what they're going to do. I hate to say that, but I think that's what they're going to do.
I think it's going to be Becky straight up, but Charlotte kind of weasels her way in because Flair.
Well, that would certainly fit the angle.
Yeah.
But I don't think you have to worry about Asuka retaining. I think she's going to retain. It just sucks that it's probably not going to be clean like I want it to be. But
you know what, it could be clean. It could be clean, but I think it's going to be like a momentary distraction, and
mhm.
Becky gets kicked in the head.
But yeah, Asuka's going to carry it into Mania. That I feel pretty secure
I
in
think
saying.
Asuka's going to carry it past Mania.
Oh, I think so too. But I'm just just for the sake of whoever she's facing. But yeah, I think you don't have to worry about her losing here.
But yeah, moving forward, I think Becky's going to win the Rumble at this point, and we're going to do a Rumble preview show, I'd imagine.
Oh yeah, we're gonna do that. But yeah, I thought SmackDown was fine this week. Raw, I think I told you this last night. I thought everything for the most part was fine except for the Ron promo, which I don't even know what the hell they were going for there. I really don't.
Nobody does.
I really don't know what happened there. I know that they can't. I know Braun's not cleared and all this other stuff, but boy, that was a mess. That was a complete mess. It brought the whole show down. And then they followed up with a gender promo, which is the worst thing you could do. Um, you careened the show completely at that point. Thankfully, they had something hot with the Sasha Nia thing, which was only a good segment because Sasha and Nia both went off script. You can tell they did.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what made the whole segment was that Sasha did that. And good Lord, I thought somebody was going to get severely injured in that match because that was a mess. That match was a mess.
Change that statement. You thought Sasha was going to get severely injured in
Yeah.
that match.
Well, Sasha was tagging Nia pretty good too, but then again, Nia started it, so um, Sasha gives as good as she gets. So we know that too. We know that from our match with Alexa Bliss and everything. So, but look, the right person won. I don't have an issue with. I don't know if you remember this, but Ronda had done an interview I think back in the summer where she had mentioned that Sasha Banks was a match that she wanted, but she wasn't sure she was ready for because she felt like she was too green. She's like, well, Sasha likes to do a lot of different things in the ring, and I'm not sure I'm ready for that.
Well,
so here you go.
Well, if that's the case, they should have gone with Bayley.
Yeah, that would have been fine too. I mean, I appreciate the fact that they chose to throw, they're going to try to get Sasha and Bayley back into the mix. Like we were just talking about that over the weekend. I thought that they need to get those two back in the mix, and I like that they did this. I like that it wasn't just some kind of filler program. Sasha Banks is not really filler, she shouldn't be, and I'm glad that they went in that direction. I thought that was smart. So hey, look, I'm glad they did it. It made Meltzer look like an idiot because he's been swearing it was going to be Charlotte versus Ronda for the longest time at the Rumble, and well, plans are subject to change. Well, yeah, but you know what? This time of year, those things don't really change too much unless there's an injury. So, but yeah, that segment was good. I thought the Rollins Ambrose match at the end was so much better than TLC, even with the interference. I thought that was good. I liked what they did with Rollins and Triple H. They had that great match at the beginning of the show with Cena and Finn and Rollins and Drew McIntyre, and they had a great match. And then I love how they had Rollins go to the back because Triple H was talking to Bayley and Sasha, and he's like, he slaps the coffee out of his hand. He's like, I want Dean Ambrose. I love the way they did that. That was cool. And starting the night with the brawl, and they did a really good job last night. Outside the Braun thing, I thought they did great last night. So. And obviously, the way that they booked the show was weird. And it always is when they're going up against a championship game. You know that. They always kind of do it weird because they want to make sure that people see certain things.
Mm-hmm.
So they booked it kind of unorthodoxly with the way that they did it. But I think it worked out well. And the Hogan thing for Mean Gene, may rest in peace, was awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That was really good. So they did everything right last night. I thought, except for that Braun thing and SmackDown. I thought was because they had a good week.
Mm-hmm.
They had a good week. Now, can they keep it up? We'll see. They got the Rumble in a couple of weeks, and hopefully they don't lay an egg. Because they can't afford to lay an egg right now. It's just they just don't need the negative PR. They really don't. They really don't. So, by the way, they moved Chris Jericho to the alumni status.
That's not surprising.
So, yeah, that happened. And by the way, they had, I don't know if you're aware of this, but they had some of these NXT people that are coming up work dark matches last night, including EC3.
Yeah, he worked. No, he worked main event.
Um, it was a dark. They replaced the main event stuff with dark matches. It was a dark match. It wasn't shown to anybody.
Mm-hmm.
So, look, they're gonna. I'm guaranteeing you, at least a couple of them are gonna debut in the Rumble. So, that's probably why they have them working those matches. Not really shocking, to be honest. And I have, and a lot. I guess a lot of people are wondering if any of these people are going to have like a big WrestleMania program. Like sometimes you see a debut and they stick them in a major program. I don't know if there would be any. I mean, the only person I could really see would EC3 be the only guy you could see maybe getting a decent program.
For Mania?
Yeah, if they decide to throw one of the call ups into something big, that would be the only one I could see, right?
Yeah, for the
Probably.
Rumble. Lars eventually, but
I mean, Vince would probably like to push him to the moon, but
probably. But let's be honest here. EC3, he was another one of these guys. Like, yes, he's okay on NXT, but once he gets to the main roster, that's where he's meant to be.
you notice that they had Bobby Lashley call out Brock Lesnar for WrestleMania?
Yes,
Hmm.
kind of.
Hmm. I mean, I'm pretty sure I know where Cena's going now
Mm-hmm.
after last night, which we talked about too. I said I kind of thought that might be where they go, and that's where they look like they're going. So, which is fine. That's a good match for Drew if they do it. Well, wouldn't it be just like WWE to do Brock Lesnar versus Rollins and have Lashley face Braun Strowman?
Yes.
Hmm. Oh, at least they're finally having Bobby Lashley act intimidating.
It took him long enough.
Yeah, it took them long enough. I'm trying to think if there's anything else from wrestling that we have to mention. We mentioned we mentioned Raw, SmackDown. You even mentioned Wrestle Kingdom, for better or worse.
Honestly, there wasn't a lot to mention. Oh, I wonder
Yeah,
who's going to win this one. I could have picked that entire card with 100% certainty before I went to bed 2 weeks before it happened.
I'm pretty
And
sure you. I'm pretty sure you did predict it to me, and I think you're 100% right.
yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm like, oh, who's going to win this one? It's going to be Tetsuya Naito. It's going to be Hiroshi Tanahashi. Oh, I wonder who's going to be the tag team champions, Evil and Sonata.
Right.
Oh, who's going to win the junior tag belts? Excuse me, no, it was Shingo and Bushi because they have to give all the Ingobernables something to do.
Yeah.
Oh, who's going to win Okada versus Jay White? I don't know. Jay White, who they're going to push to the moon and then have Tanahashi squash the week after? No shit.
Yeah.
It's like, who cares? Kushida was going to. Kushida's going to WWE and he's the junior champion. I wonder who's going to win, whomever he's facing. I'm just glad it was Ishimori because Ishimori should have had that title already. So,
all right. So I think we covered everything as far as the wrestling goes. So we only have one more topic left, and we're going to jump to entertainment, and we're going to talk about what was probably one of the weirdest Golden Globes I have probably ever witnessed. Because now, look, I'm not going to talk about the TV side of things because that, like I said, when we talked about the nominations, the interesting stuff was on the film end. It wasn't on the TV end. The TV end was boring as hell. I'm sorry. Everything went according to form for the most part. Nothing, I mean, there again, nothing. It was of such little consequence because of the fact that a lot of the big shows weren't involved. I don't even think many of the prognosticators even cared to predict half the races on the TV end. I really don't. It was just a lot of I no disrespect to any of those shows, but a lot of them are good shows. And I like that Sandra 01. I thought that was a great moment and everything, but Come on. There were some good winners there. There really were. I don't want to take anything away from them. It's just that I think a lot was just people are like, blah, on that side of things. On the film end was where everything was interesting. And it was interesting because you had a lot of big movies involved. And then you had a lot of interesting races in terms of the acting awards. It was a little bit more unpredictable. And look, I can't remember the last time that there's not a movie, and Mike knows this because I like to use. There wasn't one of those indie darling movies that that people had gravitated towards that was considered that big movie, right? That was going to dominate. You know, I mean, a couple years ago, La La Land. You know, everybody gravitated towards, but there was Moonlight, right, which was an infinitely better movie. But I digress. It was still a smaller budget movie that everybody kind of rallied behind. You don't have that this year. You know, there was a couple weeks ago, there was some feeling that The Favorite might end up being that, but then there was a concern that it was too quirky, and you saw that manifest itself in the Golden Globes. It didn't really see much attention. Now it seems like it's the Green Book. Well, the Green Book wasn't supposed to be that smaller budget deal. It was a big picture movie. It just so happens it didn't make a lot of money. It was a smaller budget, a bigger picture movie, but you know, it wasn't supposed to end up that way. So, you know, you went into this award season with, well, what's the movie that the critics are going to get behind, or what's the movie that the Academy is going to get behind? And then there was this sense that maybe they'll do what they wanted to do with La La Land a couple years ago. Maybe they'll go gravitate towards A Star Is Born, like they did La La Land, old school Hollywood. It's a remake, but it's that old feel good, you know, pick up, the singers from obscurity. It's Lady Gaga, you know. And then like the Academy go, look, we're awarding something that's popular, so it serves two purposes. It awards something that they like to award, a kind of movie that they like to award, but it also, well, it's Lady Gaga and it's Bradley Cooper. You're going to care about this, right? So that was the movie that everybody kind of was like, maybe this is what they're going to do, and it's going to start at the Golden Globes. No. I mean, Gaga won the award for original song, but other than that, Star Is Born got completely shut out. And then you're thinking, and of course, Glenn Close wins actress, which was, you know, that was her competition. Gaga was Glenn Close. And to me, you know, she had a great speech. It was a speech that everybody needed to hear that, you know, we all didn't think we needed to hear, but we did. And does that mean Glenn Close is going to get the Oscar? Probably.
No, I won't say that.
I would say that.
Glenn Close? No.
I would say that.
But still think for lead actress?
Yeah. I think so.
It's either her or Olivia Colman.
I think what it's going to come down to, based on the way that the membership has gone now, I think it's going to come down to Gaga versus Close. Based on the way that I thought a couple weeks ago, I thought Coleman would be the one too, but then the way that they treated The Favorite and the way it's being treated, I'm not sure it's going to have enough traction at this point. So. It's just a feeling I get. I just think it's too quirky for them to really go. Then again, Vice is the movie that I think I could see them pushing right now.
But Adam McKay.
That's the down part of it. That's the thing. And while we're talking about Vice, the actor race is clearly between Bale and Malik, and it's probably going to go to Rami Malek. You know. I mean, he's been winning all award season. He deserves to win. Despite what all the, you know, I know there are a lot of people upset about A Star Is Born and Lady Gaga, but look, don't take it on Rami Malek. He deserved that win. He did. Now, the biggest swerve of the Golden Globes was Bohemian Rhapsody winning Best Picture Drama. That was the biggest. I wasn't surprised about Green Book winning comedy, even though, you know, I wasn't surprised by it.
Let's be honest here. Green Book should have been nominated in drama.
Bohemian
Rhapsody should have been nominated in musical.
Right.
If you switch them around, literally, what changes?
Nothing. Now, there was a mention. Somebody asked me in the emails, what do you think happened here? Because Bohemian Rhapsody lost a lot of traction once the movie came out. Everybody assumed it's good enough to be nominated. Nobody was surprised it got nominated. But the fact that it won, what do you think changed? And I said, I don't think anything changed. I think what happened was there's a lot of division this year amongst these films. There's no one standout in these films this year.
Well, there's no one standout, but the issue with Bohemian Rhapsody kind of happened, and you saw it immediately trending on Twitter with all the Twitter activists and everything. Whose name appeared after Bohemian Rhapsody 1? Bryan Singer.
He tweeted about it too.
Of course. Bryan Singer, of course he did. Now, I think Bohemian Rhapsody and the producers went up there and did a real disservice themselves by not crediting the director who took over for Bryan Singer once he completely fucked up.
Agreed.
They kind of did themselves no service. They kind of detrimented themselves a little bit. They should have publicly thanked that director when they're up there receiving their Best Picture award for saying thank you for coming on and taking over on we were at our lowest point as a film. And the fact that they didn't is a little disgusting, really.
Yeah.
But honestly, the Bohemian Rhapsody, that the one thing was them not publicly thanking that director when it did their biggest moment in time. But the other thing is Bryan Singer. He's under fire for allegedly having sex with a little boy without that little boy's consent. Well, if he's a little boy, you can't theoretically give consent, but it's not the only thing Bryan Singer has ever been guilty of, allegedly. But yeah, it's the Twitter activists who are all up in arms. Oh, why does Bohemian Rhapsody win? Because Bryan Singer was attached. Bryan Singer was the director. Well, Bryan Singer was directing it for a little bit, and then he got fired from the movie because he couldn't get along with literally everybody. And then he was fired. Now, is Bryan Singer's name still attached to it? Yes, but you should have put the other guy on as a co-director. You should have given him his due.
That I agree with. Hell, even my wife asked me during the show. She said, "So who was the director?" And I said, "Well, it was Bryan Singer, but there was somebody else that stepped in." And she goes, "Are they not mentioning him? Is that the guy talking?" I said, "No, he's not." And she goes, "Well, shouldn't they mention him?"
Yes.
I'm like, "Yeah, they should."
Yes, they should have 100%.
So that's kind of you're right. That's something that they made a big mistake on. But you know what's interesting? First of all, the movie was only up for 2 awards and it won both.
I'll be right back.
Okay. So the thing that, like I said before Mike chimed in, I don't think anything changed. I just think that there's no clear front runners in any of these races as far as the movies go. The acting, I think we can say now after the Golden Globes that there is front runners. We know Regina King's a front runner in supporting actress. Matsuo Ruiz probably a front runner in supporting actor. Rami Malek in lead actor, and like I said, I think Glenn Close is probably the front runner in lead actress. I guess Olivia Colman can fall in there. She's a dark horse, but to me, it's Gaga or Close. It depends on whether the Oscars want to, it kind of reminds me a little bit of a couple years ago. What was it, with Jennifer Lawrence or something? Was it over? I forgot who it was, or some. I forgot what the choice was. It was either Meryl Streep or like Jennifer Lawrence or something, or Emma Stone. I mean, like it was one of those things where it was like a more popular actress in a bigger movie versus Meryl Streep, who was in who do you give it to? And ultimately, they went with the more popular choice. That's what I think what we're looking at here is Lady Gaga or Glenn Close. And except I think Gaga has more of a case than, that race did. So, and then you saw the Alton in that race did. So, I think you got that. And then I think, like I said, I think everything else is wide open. Director's wide open. I don't think Alfonso Cuarón's going to win at the Oscars. And then there's some people think, well, maybe Roma will be that movie. The Oscars don't really go all in on foreign language films for Best Picture. So I don't think that's going to be it either. Might be nominated, probably will be, but I don't think that's going to be the case. And then you got a lot of movies that are kind of that in between. You got Vice, which I think is a movie that they like to rag behind, but they don't like Adam McKay. And it's a dramedy type thing. And we've seen dramedies win, but this is more skewing towards satire in some spots. So even though it's about a lot of true stuff that happened, it's kind of satiristic if you think about it. So you have that, and then you have and then there's Bohemian Rhapsody, which is a very divisive film. Will probably be nominated, but then you got Black Panther, which is a big budget movie, but it's a movie that it's a big budget movie du jour of last year. Do they go behind it? They don't like to do that. We got Black Klansman, but again, does it have enough momentum? Green Book, does it have enough momentum? The Favorite, does it have enough momentum? Is it too quirky for the voters? And there's A Star Is Born, which is the movie that I thought they would rally behind, even though it's more it was the more popular, a big popular movie, but it's more conventional for them in terms of what it is. It's more of that type of story and film that they like to award. But again, you got a lot of division here. There is usually by now we kind of have, okay, this is the front runner. Here's one or two more that could potentially. I think the field is wide open right now. I think it's, you can't make heads or tails of it after the Golden Globes. I don't think you can, because and the reason why is because I do not think this in any way, shape, or form helps Bohemian Rhapsody much at all, or the Green Book much at all. I really don't. I think, with the SAGs in 2 weeks, I think we might get a little bit of a better idea. Like, let's just say this: if let's say Green Book wins Best Ensemble or something at the SAGs, or wins significantly at the SAGs or something like that, then I think you can start looking at Green Book. Or if the Favorite wins big at the SAG, and then I think you start looking at the Favorite. You know what I mean? I think that's something you can look for. I think the guilds are going to give us a little bit of a better idea than the Golden Globe, which is weird because that usually doesn't happen. But in recent years, you're seeing that. And think about this: the last couple years at the Oscars, it's becoming more and more pronounced. You don't have that favorite. It's getting more and more wide open. And it's not because there are a lot of more big budget movies in. It's because you're seeing more and more and more independent movies maybe go a little bit more expensive because they're trying to get more attention. And there's so many of them and they're being released at different times of year. They're not all being released at the end of the year like they used to. So what happens is when you get them more at the beginning and the middle of the year, you know what happens? They get forgotten, and they can't pick up their momentum. So now, they're falling between the cracks of all the movies that are coming out at the end of the year and have the momentum. So it kind of makes the race maybe tighter than it otherwise would have been. But it was just a very weird Oscars to see what, but and look, I like Bohemian Rhapsody a lot. I did. Normally I'd be happy about it, but at the same time I'm sitting there like, huh? It was kind of a swerve for me. It was very difficult to take in. I'm glad for them, and kudos to them. Queen and Remy Malek and a lot of those producers and that were on the project. And I'm not gonna say anything about Bryan Singer because of all that goes along with that. Let's just say that he's got his issues and he has to deal with those. But as far as the people that worked on that movie that didn't have issues that like Brian did, and that I give kudos to them. And I think one thing we can say with certainty is that the animated race is over.
Yep, guaranteed.
Lock, stock, and barrel. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse is going to win the Oscar. And let me just say this too: you can make the argument it should be up for Best Picture.
Yep, you can.
And I think you asked me this a couple weeks ago. What would be my favorite movie of 2018? If I was looking at these, I probably should make that decision because with the voting and everything, but with the film awards and everything. But I think I actually would put that at the top of my list, to be honest. And when I reflect on it, I probably would. And look, it's going to win. And by the way, there's talk today that some of the Spider-Men are Spider people, I should say, from the movie might get their own TV series. like Spider-Man Noir. Might get his own
Spider Ham.
Spider Ham. You might see them all get TV series, which I think is kind of cool. You know, depending on how you do it, um, but yeah, I thought that was that. I think it's pretty obvious that that's going to win animated for sure. Now, I mean, look, Incredibles had it in the bag. Even with Wreck-It Ralph, I thought it was said that Incredibles had it in the bag. And then, of all things, Spider-Man. Who knew with Sony, the two movies that they that they didn't think were going to do it, did it. They had a great year with Venom, and Venom sequels in the works right now, and then they had a great situation with Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
And they've got Spider Verse properties kind of being lined up, different movies, a sequel, etc.
They, hey, maybe they just found their niche. Maybe they just can't do, true Spider-Man movies. They have to do different things with it. That's kind of what they have to do. That's what they have to do. So,
well, even Marvel's not doing a true Spider-Man movie anymore.
no, I mean they got to.
Kind of, but not really.
They got to look. Whatever works, and it's working for them, and it's helping Sony and help their animation department, and away they go. And before I move off the Golden Globes completely, a lot was said about Andy Samberg and Sandra Oh as hosts, and I know Sandra had that great moment at the beginning. She got emotional, and it was a mess, but it wasn't a mess because of them. It was a mess because I feel like they weren't prepared. I feel like everything that was written for them was it was almost like it was rushed, and it was almost like they didn't want to be overly political because they've been getting these award shows being slammed because of it. And they didn't want to be too hard edgy because they don't want to offend anybody because everybody's oversensitive now, right? So they tried that, but they also felt like they had to throw some edgy stuff in there so that you could appease people that wanted that kind of humor. It was kind of just like a mismatch of a bunch of different things, and it was just a mess. And that's really why it didn't work. That's really why it didn't work. So say what you want, but I think they were kind of set up to fail.
More than likely.
So, all right then.
Although one last thing about the Golden Globes, when I was reflecting on my piss, I thought, who could be the front runner? And then I came to the conclusion you dismissed so out of hand so easily.
What?
Probably Green Book. Probably Green Book.
I didn't really dismiss that, did I?
Not really. But you're like, oh, well, that thing has momentum. It's probably going to be Green Book.
No, if it wins
if
that,
you think about it, it's probably that.
well, if it wins big at the not the Golden Globes, at the guilds, then they'll probably at the SAGs and some of the other guilds, and they probably will.
Although moving forward, Rami Malek's going to sweep, Spider Verse is going to sweep. I think those are the only two things that are guaranteed to kind of move forward.
Right.
I do think it's definitely Rami Malek at this point in time.
Yeah, I agree.
And
I know.
And you're right. It's definitely Spider Verse was the next level animation kind of film, and it did some amazing things with storytelling. It did some amazing things with animation. It was different. It was amazing. It was just a different take on the Spider-Man mythos almost, while at the same time reminding everybody of why Spider-Man is such an important and integral piece of comic history, and why Spider-Man's probably been one of the two most popular superheroes of all of recent times, or one of the three biggest, most popular superheroes of all time. Because he's Spider-Man.
Well, I know that a lot of people, you know, we're interested in, what's going to happen. Not, I mean, because if we're talking about award season, what's going to happen with the whole Oscar host thing. There's a lot of talk this week about the whole Ellen DeGeneres Kevin Hart interview and how she made a call for him. She wants him to consider taking the job and all this stuff. I'm not going to get into that stuff. I'm only not going to get into it because we talked about the Kevin Hart stuff before. We talked about who what direction the Oscars should probably go in. We'll have to wait and see. I think they're going to have to make a decision probably sometime in the next week because they're running. I mean, the Oscar nominations come out the 22nd. So they're going to have a host unless they decide not to do one. I don't know.
They'd be stupid not to.
Yeah, but we'll see. I don't know if they're going to go back to that well. I don't know what they're going to do. But there's no sense speculating, and I don't want to go back down that road because, we've already discussed it. So we'll leave it at that. But I got a lot of mail about that, so I just wanted to acknowledge that. So, all right, we got through everything. So not too bad. All right, so with that being said, that is it. That is it for the night. As always, the show might be over. Does not mean you have to stop interacting, contributing to our show. Continue to have your voice heard. Send us your questions about the show, discussion of the show, topic ideas, and breaking news items for sports, entertainment, wrestling you want us to cover. Let's see. Any in the Spotlight Film Awards submissions. Remember, you can only do that by email only. Nomination ballots are due on Thursday. So make sure you note that Thursday at 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, any reactions, comments, opinions, things we talked about in the show, things we said, any of these things you can do by email, Facebook, and Twitter. Of course, award submissions again only by email only. Email address for the show, itspotlight411@gmail.com. You can also follow us and tweet us at itspotlight411. Remember, hashtag itspotlight411 for anything we tweet regarding the show. And you can also find us on Facebook. To search for In the Spotlight 411 on Facebook. And again, make sure that you like our page once you find it. Again, follow us on social media so you can get the latest information about our show. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter so you can interact with us and know everything that's going on and all that good stuff. 2 ways to keep with the show and look back at classic episodes. You can stream us anytime on YouTube. Just search In the Spotlight 411. When you do, you'll be taken to our show page on YouTube. We will find every episode. We'll be taking our show page on YouTube. We find every episode we ever produced since mid-October 2015 when we started here on YouTube. So all those episodes are able to stream anytime you want. Just search In the Spotlight 411 on YouTube, and you'll be able to access those episodes and stream them anytime you want. If streaming is not your thing, maybe prefer to listen to us on the go, or maybe instant older episodes of the show, or just listen to us in general. You can find us on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes. Search In the Spotlight 411. When you do, you'll be taken to our show pages on both sites, where you'll have access to every episode we've ever produced in the 8 years we've been doing this show. So everything for our blog talk radio, talk show, and of course our YouTube runs. So everything we've done since day one, all available in audio format for your convenience, for you to listen to anytime you want, on the go, at home, wherever you want to listen to it. So, and all episodes, again, in audio format, and all episodes in order from the most recent, that being tonight, way back to the oldest, way back in October 2010. Those episodes are available for you anytime you want. Just check us out on our main host sites, Podbean and iTunes, and just search for In the Spotlight 411. So Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, Google Plus, YouTube, Podbean, iTunes, your way to skip the show and look back at classic episodes to search for In the Spotlight 411. Going to search for In the Spotlight 411. I want to thank Mike for being here tonight. Thank you, Mike.
I'm going to bed now.
Well, good night to you then. And of course, thank myself for another great show. Pass it back, and thank all of you for your continued support and contributions to the show. Thank you so much for watching. So, those that will be watching, listen to this later, thank you to you as well. That is it for tonight. We'll be back with you on Thursday for our next show. Again, another combo type show. We're going to see how that works. We'll do NFL playoffs, look back at last weekend, look at it this weekend, make some picks. Any other sports stuff we have to cover, we'll cover. Box office, BTV highlights, all this, and maybe even a little more wrestling too. All this coming at you on Thursday. So until then, I hope you have a great rest of your night, a great Wednesday, and a great Thursday. Remember, In the Spotlight Film Award nominations also due on Thursday at 10 o'clock news time. Make sure you get those in. So until Thursday, 10 o'clock news time here on YouTube. Have a good night, everybody.